Title: Behind the Fence, a Civilian Contractor's Tale. My journey as a civilian contractor for the Department of Defense, DoD, was anything but ordinary. The security measures, high-stakes environment, and the technical intricacies of the job created experiences I'll never forget. But one project stands out above all: the installation of a fiber network link between the Boeing building and the base tech hub, situated just outside the fence of an Air Force base. The task itself sounded straightforward on paper: connect the two buildings with a fiber optic network to improve communication between Boeing and the military. But when you're working on a base like this, nothing is ever simple. The moment I arrived at the base, I was immediately hit by the stark contrast between civilian life and the tight security protocols in place. The first requirement: I was to be accompanied by an armed soldier at all times. This wasn't just a precaution, it was an absolute necessity. With each movement across the base, I was expected to be fully aware of my surroundings, and the soldier, always in my peripheral vision, ensured that I adhered to strict security protocols. Every task I completed had to be documented with an extensive, detailed narrative of what I did, why I did it, and how I did it. Even something as routine as plugging in a cable became an operation that required explicit explanation and justification. The fiber optic cable installation itself went smoothly at first, but as I worked, I realized the complexity of the surrounding environment. The tech hub and the Boeing building were close, yet they existed in two separate worlds, civilian and military, and both sides had to work in perfect synchronization. The connection needed to be flawless, secure, and more importantly, covert. A civilian contractor like me was a rare sight, and it felt like the weight of national security was constantly pressing down on me, no matter how routine the task seemed. As if the security and narrative documentation weren't enough, I was also tasked with a more unusual aspect of the project: installing servers and racks that were to be mounted with large rubber muffins. Now, rubber muffins are not a tool I expected to encounter on this job, but there was a very important reason for their use. The Air Force Base wasn't just any military base. It was one that hosted fighter jets, bombers, and other heavy aircraft. These planes didn't just take off and land. They slammed onto the runway, fully loaded with armament, causing a ground tremor each time. The vibration from these high-powered machines created a threat to the sensitive equipment that had to be stored in the racks. The rubber muffins were there to minimize the vibrations. They were strategically placed to cushion the servers from the constant ground tremors caused by the planes. I found it fascinating how something as simple as rubber could become an essential part of the security infrastructure. With the tremors threatening the integrity of the servers, these rubber buffers acted as a protective layer, ensuring that the data systems remained stable, functional, and secure. As I mounted the servers, adjusting the rubber muffins just right, I couldn't help but appreciate the level of attention to detail that went into every aspect of the work. This wasn't just about technology. It was about national security, about protecting vital data, and ensuring that military operations could function at the highest levels of efficiency. At the end of the project, after I had connected the fiber optic cables, mounted the servers, and ensured everything was secure, I took a moment to step back. The soldier who had been with me the entire time gave me a small nod of approval, as if to say, "Job well done, contractor." It wasn't a moment for celebration. It was more like an acknowledgement that I had played a small but important part in something much bigger than myself. Looking back, the experience was a unique blend of high-tech work, strict security measures, and the quiet understanding that, while I was just a civilian contractor, my work was integral to the smooth functioning of an entire military operation. The fiber link and the servers weren't just components of a project. They were essential to maintaining a secure and efficient communication network. And they represented the intersection of civilian expertise and military security. That day, behind the fence of the Air Force Base, I realized the weight that came with working for the DoD. It wasn't just about technology. It was about safeguarding the nation's defense, ensuring that every piece of equipment and communication line was secure, functional, and protected from any potential threat. As a contractor, I may not have been in uniform, but in those moments, I understood that I was part of something far greater than myself.